Good morning. Welcome to the Celtic Way Morning Briefing Live, Tuesday, November the 1st. I'm Tony Haggerty, Haggerty Twitter handle, you know that by now. And I'm delighted to be joined today by Aidan Macdonald at Aidan C. Macdonald. I've dropped the young Aidan. All right, you're a veteran now. It's cool. How are you, Aidan? You all right?
Yeah, I'm good, Tony. How are you?
Yes, I'm very well. Good morning, everybody. Now, as we do every day, I'll just direct you to the ticker tape running along the bottom. You know what I'm going to say. If you haven't already subscribed, you can do so and support top quality journalism covering the club you love. It's only £1 for 2 months of full access to everything that we do on the website as well as the pods. Easy as 1, 2, 3. All you have to do is hit www.celticway.co.uk/subscribe. Just push that button and you'll get access to everything that we write on the website as well as the pod. We're more than just a podcast, you know, but there you go. That's a plug-in for the day, Aidan. Bargain at £1 for 2 months of full access, isn't it?
It's a good deal, Tony. Can't argue with it.
Now, that's a good deal. Here's a raw deal coming, Aidan.
Very good. I like that.
We've woken up, the Celtic supporters have woken up to the shock news that Kyogo, Furuhashi and Rio Hatate have not been named in Japan's 26-man World Cup squad. And I think it's causing some ructions and basically it's a bit of a shocker, is it not, Aidan?
Yeah, it's a surprise, particularly in the case of Kyogo. He has been featuring for the Japan national team outside of when he was injured for a spell last year. I don't think he's been getting as many minutes as he was at times last season, but he had been featuring, so I'm surprised he's not in the squad. Hatate, well, he's been absolutely excellent this year. In the most recent camp, I don't think he played a single minute despite being called up, so maybe that's not as much of a kind of surprise in general. But I did expect both of them to at least be in the squad, I'll be honest, Tony.
Yeah, I get your comments coming in, guys, how you feel about that. Yeah, I fully expected both of them to. I mean, because Kyogo's had a wonderful 18 months since he arrived at Celtic, hasn't he? And Hatate's had a decent, well, it's nearly a year since he's been a couple of months short of a year, and he's been excellent. But as you say, I think the Japanese manager has, let's just say, from reports that I'm reading, has his favourites. And but good news for Daisen Maeda, he's in. He made the cut.
Yeah, I mean, there's a big a bonus for Maida getting there. You know, at times he has maybe struggled a wee bit, so that is really good for his confidence. I know what you're saying in terms of the Japanese manager having his favourites. It does appear to be the case, and they do have very good attacking players. Japan, you know, there's Minamino, who's at Monaco, former Liverpool player. Kamada, who's at Frankfurt, played against Rangers in the Europa League final last year. He scored plenty of goals last season. So there is talent there, don't get me wrong. It was never going to be a guarantee that Kyogo or, in the case of the midfielders, Hatate was starting. But it's just a bit of surprise they're not an option in the squad. But I think the Japanese manager does play a wee bit more of a defensive style. And I had seen some reports that when Kyogo was playing in the kind of previous camp of games in September, he did struggle a wee bit, more down to the way that the manager wanted his team to play. So maybe that's came into the thoughts, but I'm surprised at least one of the two haven't been taken just to be part of the squad, to be honest.
Yeah, indeed, it surprised me as well. But they have a tough group as well, Aidan, in the World Cup. Spain, Costa Rica and Germany. That's as hard as it gets, really, isn't it?
Yeah, that's quite a hard group, to be fair. And you'd have thought they would have wanted players of Hatate and Kyogo's quality as an option in those games, even if it was just coming off the bench.
Yep.
But yeah, that is going to be a tough game for Japan. I'm just glad I didn't buy a training top with Kyogo on the back yet, Tony. It was getting considered, so I have to give that a rain check, I think.
Save some money. Andrew Gillier comes in. Kyogo and Hatate are coming to Australia. Looking forward to seeing him in the flesh versus Everton. Now, that could be the silver lining for Celtic, Aidan, that the manager touched upon it the other day, that he's able to now rest and rotate the players. They won't be going to a big major finals tournament. Less chance of them getting injured, although they could get injured if they play in Australia, obviously. But Andrew also says with only 3 players going to the World Cup, Andrew will get some good work into the squad. Yeah, I mean, that's the possible silver lining for Celtic, isn't it? Alan Robertson, Japan's loss is our gain. I guess Celtic supporters, I think some will be pretty chuffed at that news. Personally disappointed with the players, but chuffed at the fact that Celtic's track record with players going away on international duty and getting injured has not been great since Ange came over. So maybe spared the rod on that one.
It does seem like it, Tony, and obviously Ange himself has said at times he wants players to go and
Yes, he does.
compete for our national team because it benefits everyone, puts them on the international stage, etc. So I'm sure he will be a wee bit disappointed, at least from a public point of view, but I'm sure privately he will, he'll be happy that Kyogo and Hatate are able to get a bit of a rest. They have played quite a lot this season so far, and we know last year Kyogo had, well, a couple of hamstring injuries, but in particular his second one kept him out for whatever it was, 3-4 months. So in Hatate, we had spoken a lot about fatigue last season. That was why he kind of sort of drifted off. So to be honest with you, we're probably going to pick two players that could get a wee bit more of a break. It probably would be those two, to be fair. So that is a positive that, outside of the two games in Australia, they can just train and rest over that sort of 4.5, 5 week period. So yeah, it is a silver lining for Celtic, but obviously, the players will be disappointed not to be involved because it's a World Cup. But
yeah, the Retro Celtic says Japan's loss, and Gary McDowell comes in and says, I can't believe Japan have better strikers than Kyogo. If Maeda is the main striker, are we playing him, Celtic playing him in the wrong position? Well, I think he favours playing Maeda, doesn't he? The Japanese national manager favours playing Maeda through the middle, doesn't he?
It does look like it at times. I think he did that in the first friendly that they played against the USA when they were playing some games in Germany in September. Because I seen a wee bit of the first half of that game, and it did look like Maeda was, at least in terms of the formation that they had sort of lined out on the TV, that he was through the middle. I don't know if that continued for the sort of the rest of the games, but yeah, that's obviously what the manager wants to do. I personally don't think that his best position's through the middle, and I think we've seen at times last season he did struggle a bit there. Away to Hibs, if I remember rightly, I think he played through the middle, and it wasn't an ideal performance from him. So, but yeah, it's one of those ones, I guess.
Mark E comes in and says it'd be nice to see the Japanese boys make a big impact versus Madrid. And Robert Gibson says the Japanese manager is obviously on the sake if he thinks Maeda is the best of those three. Fair enough. And Sam Hatate, feel for the guys on a personal level, but surely this is Japan's loss. Yeah, echoing a lot of what we're just saying there, Aidan. And Pete McGee, he'd like to see the Japanese players who are keeping Hatate and Kyogo out of the squad. I'd like to see them too, but you touched upon a few of them there, didn't you? They have got a talented squad. So, as you say, it's a personal disappointment for the players themselves. But I think the Retro Celtic and will be very pleased, as you say, publicly and privately. Kind of the two faces there from the Celtic manager might come to the fore, but I guess publicly we're disappointed for the players. He does like them representing their countries, but I guess if you're being selfish, Celtic can really focus and knuckle down. And as an earlier commenter said, get some real work into the players, even if they go to Australia. Yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely. And Ange spoke regularly at the start of the season about how important the sort of pre-season period was of being able to get more time on the training pitch than any Celtic manager would have had in the last decade because there was no qualifiers. So obviously you're now going to get more time on the training pitch again. Obviously I know the season's going on a bit longer, so eventually it will all kind of even out, but he will see that as a positive because he spoke, I remember, obviously me and you are always involved transcribing his pressers and that, etc. So he spoke at length about the importance of more time on the training field and how that was really the first time he could get proper work in since he came into the club. Because last year it was a quick turnaround of the Champions League qualifiers, and then throughout a good chunk of the season, a lot of it's like rest and recovery. So he was able to get good tactical work in at the start of the season. So the fact he will be able to do that again, I think he'll be quite happy with that.
And also as well, don't forget the two players will now go to Sydney for the Sydney Cup. That's a bit of a box office draw, and that's a boon for the Australian Celtic supporters and those that are travelling down under to see Celtic. They'll get to see these guys in the flesh, as an earlier commenter said. So that's something to look forward to for them.
Yeah, no, that is a real positive for the fans that will be over there watching that. That is two of Celtic's biggest names at the moment, Hatate and Kyogo. So yeah, that's a positive for them as well, Tony, of course.
Kaiser makes a great point here. He says Maeda is talismanic for the national team. He's hard working, good for a goal, and he doesn't think that Celtic fans should diminish Maeda getting called up to feel better about Kyogo and Hatate getting snubbed. He reckons it's a bad habit of some of the Celtic fans. I'm delighted that Maeda's there, because I think that'll work wonders for his confidence too, because I think he's maybe struggled a wee bit and become the focus of some of the fans' ire and anger lately, but there's still a player in Maeda, and he gives you his all, and his work rate and his defensive chores and duty. He never neglects that, and he pops up with the odd goal every now and again. Maybe not as many goals as people would like, but I'm still a big Maeda fan.
Yeah, of course, I'm a big fan of Maeda as well, and we know his qualities, we know what he can do. And probably just when you're talking about the work rate aspect, given that you listed off Japan's World Cup route, maybe the manager is thinking we're not going to have a lot of the ball in these games. I mean, I'm not 100% sure of his tactics, so I could be wrong, but if he's thinking we're not going to have a lot of the ball and we're going to do a lot of chasing, who better to have than Maeda for that? So
yeah, correct.
That would be a reason why.
And Michael Ross was saying there, spot on to Kaiser for that comment. Sam Hatate, everybody supports Maeda, they certainly do, and well done to him for making the cut. And Angela Tyrell says Japan play two up front. Maeda plays off the furthest front guy, so that's the way they play in the Retro Celtic. I'm pleased for Maeda. I think everybody's pleased for Maeda, to be fair. Sunder Scotland agrees with myself. She's spot on, Tony. It'll do Maeda the world of good, hopefully. And I just think playing against a better quality and class of player improves your own game, and you'll be all the better for that experience, which is why I would have wanted Kyogo and Hatate to be there, because when you play on that stage, it lifts your own game. You're encouraged by that. It emboldens, it spurs you on to be the best you can be, and I just think they're missing out on something special. But from a selfish point of view, I guess if you want to say they'll maybe knuckle down at Celtic and spur Celtic on in the second half of the season to be successful. It depends on which way you look at it, Aidan, I suppose, doesn't it?
Yeah, no, it does. I mean, obviously Hatate is a wee bit younger again, so I'd imagine that if he continues his trajectory, whether it's Celtic or if he moves on, he will be in World Cup squad, whereas also Kyogo's a wee bit older, 26, 27, so he could be thinking, is that going to be one of my last chances to sort of potentially get in a World Cup squad? So I'm sure they will both be personally disappointed, but just to touch on what we'd already mentioned, it is a positive for Celtic to be blunt about it. Having those guys are going to be able to get more rest, more time in the training pitch. And when we come back for the first game away to Aberdeen and Pittodrie, 17th of December, they will hopefully be absolutely flying, which will be vital if Celtic want to be successful again this season.
Yeah, I mean, you touched on it. I think Hatate, the youth's on his side, isn't it? What's Kyogo, 26?
So he's either 26 or 27, Tony.
So he might miss out on playing at the World Cup.
Not necessarily, because he would only be in his kind of,
Yeah, I know.
It's harder,
yeah. I guess he would. You could say one of two things would be at his peak by the time the next one comes round, depending where he is. But hopefully he gets a chance to do that. And Sam Hatate comes back in. Both players have great modesty and will move on from this disappointment. I've no doubt about that, Sam. Andrew Galea says, get behind Maeda, Moy and Juranovic. That's the Celtic representatives at the World Cup. I'm sure every Celtic supporter will get behind all the Celtic players that will be representing them. And Pete McGee, here's a comment, I'll certainly be watching Japan in the World Cup now just to see how good their squad is. I think a lot of Celtic supporters will be looking at the Japan games closely to see if Kyogo or Hatate could have made any difference. And Retro Celtic, the positive is that Kyogo and Hatate aren't in the World Cup shop window. So I guess if you're looking at it from a purely selfish club point of view, Aidan, they are the silver linings from that, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And actually, when we first started talking about it, I didn't even think about the January transfer aspect. So that is another positive because we particularly with maybe somebody like Juranovic, etc., with Croatia, they are probably one out of those three players as teams. They're probably the likely to maybe go. Not, I don't think they would replicate what they did in 2018 and get to the final Croatia, but I think they could maybe go into the latter stages, and he does usually play. So I guess a positive for Kyogo, yeah, and Hatate not being there is there's not going to be as many eyes on him. So hopefully that can lead to us keeping them for a bit longer.
Now, Kaiser makes a point, nice wee segue into something else that's catching the eye at the minute, and it's Mikey Johnston. Aidan and Mikey Johnston is tearing it up on his loan move with Portuguese side Vitória Guimarães, and it's good to see that, isn't it? I think that loan spell was what was needed for both parties, for Mikey to go and resurrect his career and play some good football, and he's actually doing that. He's knuckled down to that task and he's performing very well, and hopefully he can come back and offer something to us, because there's undoubted talent there with Mikey Johnston, just maybe lacking an end product at times, Aidan.
No, definitely, and at the moment it seems to be beneficial for everyone involved. Obviously, I think after they scored in their 3-2 victory at the weekend, that team's now went actually above Sporting Lisbon into 5th place. So, the teams up there competing relatively well in a good league. So the standard he's playing against, I'm sure for the most part, is quite strong. And he seems to have been chipping in with goals and assists, etc. So we all know there's a player in there, Mikey Johnston. He's been really unlucky with injuries. His time at Celtic, and Ange clearly he is in his plans for the future, because he signed that contract extension, obviously before he went out on loan, so to 2025, I think it was, or 2026. So he obviously thinks that the loan move long term, maybe it can turn into something that happened with Christopher Ayer, Ryan Christie, etc., when they went out, played, and then came in as fully fledged first team players. So at the moment, it seems to be going well, Tony. And yeah, it seems like obviously there's been some criticism in the past of maybe the loan moves that some players are going on, whether or not they were going to become first members of the first team squad anyway. You should be always trying to make sure they're at a team that will develop them. There has been some criticism in the past. I know, such as when Liam Shaw went to Motherwell in January, some fans kind of thought, is that loan move going to do a lot for him? And I think he actually did okay, but this looks like a really positive kind of loan spell for Mikey Johnston at the moment, so hopefully it continues.
Yeah, Jerry Smith comes in and says he scored again last night and an assist, good on him. And Michael Duffin says he looks great from what I've seen of him. He also looks stronger. Yeah, I think the clips that we're seeing of Mikey Johnston on loan at Vitória Guimarães, he's playing very, very well, and he's shown it very well, and he's using the loan spell as any Celtic player should use these loan spells to try and impress and make sure they come back bigger, better and stronger and have a part to play.
Definitely, and he's starting to back that up with numbers as well by the looks of it, because I know when he first went, he was playing quite well, but he maybe wasn't quite necessarily getting the goals and assists, but now he's adding that to his game. All around it looks really positive, Tony, so hopefully he can stay injury free, and by the end of the season he's played whatever, 35, 40 games, etc. That'd be great.
Now, FS comes in with a point, less physical game abroad and protection from refs might be helping Mikey. I suppose that's a consideration, Aidan, but he seems to be thriving anyway, and it's always good to see when Celtic players go out on loan. I think somebody made a comment as well that even Barkas has remembered that he's a goalkeeper and he's actually performing well too. So I think it augurs well if the loan players are performing, so hopefully some of them can come back and, as I say, contribute moving forward.
Definitely, and I think out of all the players that are on loan currently, Mikey Johnston is probably the one that fans would be quite keen for him to come back and fight for his place next season. And obviously we know there's a lot of depth in the winger department for Celtic. Jota, Haksabanovic, Abada, Forrest, who's obviously came back into the field recently, Maida, but obviously there's always, you want to see the academy players doing well. So if he continues on his current trajectory, has a really good season in Portugal, and then comes back for pre-season next year, fighting for his place, then it's only a good thing, and that is an example of the sort of loan system working.
Yeah, the buckled Furby comes in and says, looks like Mikey is accepting the challenge, good on him. I totally concur with that. good on him. Now, do you know what Celtic were up to 21 years ago on this very day, Aidan?
Wee bit before my time, Tony, I'll be honest. But
Slightly before your time, yeah. They were beating Juventus 4-3 in the Champions League.
of course.
Of course. Del Piero, Trezeguet, Edgar Davids, all that crew. Yeah. Now, I say that in mention to a small matter of association football that's taking place on Wednesday night. Celtic go to the Bernabeu. We will preview that in depth tomorrow. But it can be done, Aidan. Celtic can beat the big teams. In that game, I think, if you were at that game, guys, give us your shout in the comment section if you remember that. Retro Celtic just sums it up in one word: Sutton header, Sutton volley. Two cracking goals. You'll have seen the highlights, Aidan. Kaiser comes in and said Sutton's goal in that game, Tony. And I'm just talking about Celtic rising to the occasion in a big Champions League night. Doesn't get any better or bigger than playing the likes of Juventus or Real Madrid in the Bernabeu. Hope springs eternal and all that, Aidan, but a similar result would be something special, wouldn't it, just to finish their campaign in a flourish?
Have you got a 4-3 victory in the Bernabeu? I don't know what the odds would be on that, but you might be able to tell me. But yeah, a result would be amazing, even though there's mathematically you can't progress to the knockout stages of the Champions League or the Europa League. That would do a lot for the players' confidence. Even if you were to get a draw, I think that would do a lot for the players' confidence. It does look like Real Madrid will. I don't think they're fully confirmed for top spot yet, if I'm right in saying.
Yeah, they're not. So
they will probably at least start with a strong team. It'll be a tough task, but we've seen in that first game at Celtic Park that the Ange's men were able to compete with the team with the European champions for a 55-60 minutes. So it'll be an interesting one, Tony. I don't know if I would be quite predicting a 4-3 victory, but we'll see.
Kaiser comes in and says his volley gets further out every time he recounts the story. Yes, indeed. Retro Celtic, tongue-in-cheek, clasping the hands. He'd take a draw. I think a lot of Celtic supporters would take a draw. But I just mention it in the fact that, these things are, sometimes the stars align, Aidan, and you can. And that was a tremendously talented Juventus team. But yeah, Lubomir Moravcik stepped up to the plate that night as well. It was just one of those games that are unforgettable in Celtic's Champions League history, and I think any kind of result or performance in the Bernabeu would be marked in the same way. So put our entire squad on the park against Real, it's the only way. Yeah, a lot of people. Michael Duffin saying a good performance of what we should be looking for. Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. Just to go out on a high, Aidan, if they can get some kind of result. And Jerry Smith says he was in the Bernabeu 40 years ago. Went on the Pollock Celtic supporters bus. What a trip. That's when Celtic lost 3-0 after winning 2-0 at Celtic Park in the quarter-final of the old European Cup when it was knockout. Aidan, they were great days. David Ferguson says he was behind the goal for Sutton's volley. What a night. It was a great night. And it's one of those that every Celtic supporter who was there remembers it, and even those who are young still know all about it, Aidan, don't they? They still know all about it because they've seen the highlights and the footage, and it's just one of those wonderful nights.
Yeah, I've seen the highlights plenty of times, and obviously Moravcik was excellent that night as well. So yeah, it definitely, in terms of if I could go back to games that maybe were a wee bit before my time, that would definitely be one of them. Would like to attend, and that was obviously, like you say, Celtic competing at the very highest level against a brilliant Juventus team, Trezeguet, Del Piero, Buffon, etc. So, yeah, like I say, Tony, I repeated that performance tomorrow night, went with the
Indeed. As I say, we'll be back tomorrow to preview that in full, but thanks, guys, for your contribution. Daisen Maeda is in the Japanese national squad. Unfortunately, Kyogo Furuhashi and Rio Hatate died with Celtic's game, but good on Daisen Maeda. And yes, it will all come out in the wash tomorrow night, Aidan, when Celtic go to the Bernabeu to finish their Champions League Group F campaign. Leslie, of course, our competition winner, will be there. She's probably still smiling somewhere up in the air, no doubt, but there you go. Hope she has a great time and enjoys it. She can tell us all about it. Aidan, thank you for your contribution. First class, excellent. thanks for the comments, guys. We like the to and fro. And as I say, if you haven't subscribed, you know what to do. And join us at www.celticway.co.uk/subscribe and get access to everything on the pod. Everything on the website, everything that's written on the website, as well as the pods. Oh, there's Leslie, still smiling. There you go. Smiling with a thumbs up. She'll be on her way soon. But yes, we'll talk more about the game tomorrow, preview it, as always. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate the contribution. Thanks to you, Aidan, top man. And we'll see you all again tomorrow. Same time, same bat channel. Take care.
Cheers, guys.